resource for parents and educators, and through our interactive products and virtual interviews, kids and youth are able to see representation of their race and gender in career fields that they may not even know about. With every product we create, from our educational aids to our apparel and accessories, we are intentional about encouraging and helping kids and youth see that they can become anything they want to be. We are the only company who not only focuses on career exploration for kids and youth, but we also give them an opportunity to ask professionals about their careers every month during our free live virtual interviews as student co-hosts. If you are looking for a company that is dedicated to helping your child or student see that they can become anything they want to be, make sure you visit todayiwanttobe.com today. Did you know you can promote your book on the next Authors Helping Authors web show? For more information, text AHA to 202-288-4467. That's 202-288-4467. Calling all authors and publishers. Did you know Everything Authors has a free downloadable directory of platforms you can promote your book on? No longer will you have to search multiple places to market your book because you can find them here. Download your list today at everythingauthors.com/free-resources. That's everythingauthors.com/free-resources. Want to promote your book with Everything Authors on our web shows and social media pages just like these authors? For less than $9 a month, learn more at bit.ly/promote on web show. That's bit.ly/promote on web show.
My name is Kushiba Taylor, author of True Shades of Her, The Molding Matrimony of Healings, Expectations, and Realizations, book and workbook. On a day-to-day journey, we are faced with the fight of who we were destined to be, who we were groomed to be based on our upbringing, life experiences, and deciding who will win between the two. I wrote True Shades of Her after an almost mental breakdown. So after rediscovering me, I now have the opportunity to reintroduce, redefine, and reposition self for purpose. Through it all, the Shaded Places have prepared the destined and determined dreamer with the dignity to become the molding matrimony of power and purpose. The workbook will give you the opportunity to take notes of your journey, answer questions, and write down your life goals while re-evaluating her. Grab your copies today.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Authors Helping Authors, the show for authors to help them see that they are not on this literary journey alone. I'm so excited that you guys have decided to tune into the show today, because today we are talking about things I wish I had known before I became an author. I'm your host, Martinique Brown. I'm so excited that we have our authors on here to tell us about the do's and don'ts, things that they wish they would have known to help you all as well. If this is your first time ever tuning into the show, make sure that you go ahead and share this video now so that more people will know about our authors and their books and about the show. Now, if you're watching from any other page other than Martinique Y. Brown or Everything Authors, I need you to come on over to one of those two pages so that I can see your questions and your comments and I can actually relay those to our authors as well. So now the great thing about this show is you don't have to Google anything. If you are interested in learning more about Sheila, for example, you don't have to Google her. Just go right there to the description box, and her book purchasing link is right there in the description box, as well as how you can stay in contact with her as well. So now give us a virtual shout out. This is a very interactive show. Let us know that you are in the virtual world as well. So authors, thank you so much for being on the show.
Amen.
Thank you.
You are welcome. You are welcome. So we're going to start with you, Pam. Can you just tell the viewers just a little bit more about yourself and how long you've been a published author?
Wow. I'm Pam Johnson. And just to hear you say that, how long I've been a published author, so I have to take a breath. It's not been very long. In 2019, I was published in an anthology. And in this year, released this month actually, is my second anthology
Okay.
submission. So it's been, I'm a newbie, and I look at, there were so many things I didn't know what I didn't know
Yeah.
until I started. But I'm a mom, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a friend, and I'm an author. Um,
Nice, nice, nice.
so that's kind of how I'll leave it there.
Now, what city and state do you live in? I always like to hear where people live.
I live in Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Nice,
I'm
nice.
about midway between Washington, D.C. and Richmond, Virginia.
Okay, okay. So now, have you been to the African American Museum yet?
Yes, actually, I've been there about 3 times.
That's good.
Yes, it's you have to see it for yourself.
Yeah,
And there is so much, even in those 3 times that I've been there, I haven't seen everything.
yeah. That's
Um,
why it's such a benefit to actually live there, and you can just go whenever you want. You know, when you
mhm,
don't live there, you're trying to rush. I'm like, oh, this is good. Let me go to the next exhibit. So
exactly.
now, what about you, Sheila? Can you tell the viewers just a little bit more about yourself and how long you've been a published author?
Okay, my name is Sheila. I am ordained apostle. I am the founder of the Anointed Gap Standards Ministries. I live in Cordova, Tennessee, just in case you wanted to know where I live. I live in Cordova, Tennessee, and I've been a published author since 2015.
Oh, nice, nice. Okay. So this is really good because we have a newbie and then we have somebody with, some more experience under their belt, and we can
Yes.
really get some advice from you two as well. So now, what about you, Terry? Can you go ahead and let the viewers know just a little bit more about yourself and how long you've been a published author?
Hello, my name is Terry Williams. I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, but I currently live in Austin, Texas.
You didn't tell
um,
me that, Terry. I love me some New Orleans. I used to live there for 4.5 years.
yes, great place, great place. I became a published author, to be specific, October 2019. So
Okay.
I'm a sort of, no, still learning. I'm learning some.
Yeah, yeah, and that's good. That's what it's about. Still learning and still trucking and still moving along with it. Now, what about you, Pat? Can you tell the viewers just a little bit more about yourself and how long you've been a published author?
Hi, everybody. My name's Pat Backley. I live in New Zealand and I published my first book in October last year at the age of 69, almost 70. So that was really exciting.
Yeah.
Since then, I published another one a month ago, and I just last week, a book I co-authored with 21 other women was published and just hit the Barnes and Noble bestseller list. So
Oh,
hugely
congrats.
exciting. So in 6
Oh,
months, I've done 3 books. So a bit of a late starter, but now I'm on a roll and I'm going to write till I die.
That's what I'm talking about. You said you're trying to catch up.
Amen.
You trying to
Amen.
catch up with all these folks that's been authors for all these years. Uh,
Amen.
so Sheila, we're going to start with you. What genre of books do you write? And can you tell us just a little bit more about the latest book that you've written?
Okay. Well, I my audience is the body of Christ. I speak to the body of Christ. The last book that I wrote was Advancing for Kingdom's Sake, and it just basically commissions the body of Christ to grow up and to mature in the things of God.
Hmm. So now with your book, I know that you're saying that you telling us to grow up. What are some of
Mhm.
the things that you're telling us that we need to grow in specifically?
Well, basically, embracing truth. You know, a lot of people want to say they're saved, but they don't want to exemplify what that really means. And so, advancing, put a commission on the body of Christ to live holy and consecrated lives unto God. The
Yeah.
kingdom way. The kingdom way is God's way of doing things and being right. And a lot of people say they're saved, but they don't live according to the word of God.
Yeah. But what about those individuals, you have that desire to live, the way that is pleasing to God and things like that. How does your book actually help that person? Does it disciple them at all?
Yes, it disciples. I talk about salvation. I talk about the seriousness of salvation, what it really means. And a lot of people say they're saved, but they really don't know what salvation means.
Hmm.
And salvation means that you have God's divine assistance, meaning you have God's grace to help you. You have his unmerited favor. You have favor on your life that you don't even deserve. And so I just basically break that down to
That's
help the
good.
body of Christ understand that you have God's divine assistance. He's helping you live this life.
Yeah, and I think that that's definitely something that we need to remember, and especially like that forgiveness piece of it, because
Yeah.
you're trying to live perfect. It's like, oh man, this is hard, but we just have to remember that the Holy Spirit is what lives within us, to help
Yes.
guide us, and that
That's
God knows
it.
we're not perfect, but
Right.
He does want us to at least strive,
That's it.
for us to be pleasing, to him. So
That's
now, with so many books out there that's really, just egging us on and trying to help us to live, for Christ. What did you feel like the bookshelves were missing, that gave you that desire to write that book?
Well, it wasn't so much about what's missing. It's just about being obedient to
Mm,
God,
okay.
writing what God give you to write, because we all have our own audience, and I can't save everyone. I can't reach everyone, but there's a people that God want me to reach, and so it's not about what's out there. It's about what God is giving you to do in the season that He's giving you to do it in.
That's good. That's good. Now, Sheila, can I tell you something? Out of all the authors that I have ever interviewed, that is the first time that I've ever heard that response, that it's not about, what's on the bookshelf right now, but it's about what God has told you to do.
That's right.
That's powerful. I'm telling you, Sheila, you make people just want to be like, you know what, Jesus, I'm sorry, I've been slacking. Whatever you trying to tell me to do right now, let me go ahead and do it. Because Sheila told me
Amen.
to do it. But let me ask you, Pat, what genre of books, do you write? I know that you talked about your anthologies, but what genres of books do you write? And can you tell us a little bit more about the latest book that you've written?
Of course. The genre books, I didn't really know what I was going to write when I started. I just was in lockdown, feeling fed up and faffing around. And I just thought, why don't I write a book? And the book really wrote itself. The first book it's a novel. It's a historical family saga. But I realized rereading it that it basically, the message is that we're all equal. It
Mm-hmm.
starts in 1887 in Alabama and London with two different people and goes right through to 1974 and just talks about a blended family. I won't say anymore, but it talks about how we're all equal, whatever our color, whatever, how we're born rich or poor, or whatever. Then I wrote my personal memoir, and I realized how closely they're linked because I've had a pretty interesting life. And I've experienced a lot of those things too. And then I was invited by a lady I met at an author group, um, to contribute to this anthology, which is basically the basic idea behind it is that we're 22 immigrant women, mostly from Nigeria or Africa, who've emigrated to the States, and me, who's English and emigrated to New Zealand. So we've all told our story, our life story, very, very condensed. Had lots of fancy pictures taken, so that it makes it like a picture book, which is quite nice to read. But the overriding idea of it is to give inspiration to young women and little girls throughout the world, that we women who started in often quite difficult circumstances have risen and kind of got to a place. A lot of these women are, I'm just an ordinary white girl, very boring. A lot of these ladies, a lot of my co-authors are fabulous, fabulous Black women, very experienced doctors, blah, blah, really super duper ladies. So I kind of feel like the little old one behind, but they're all very gracious to me. They're really lovely. And it's been a huge experience, but we just feel that if that book will leave a legacy to make just one little girl's life, just to make her dream big, that's enough. And I now realize that that's really the theme of all my writing. Because I believe very strongly that we're all equal. Somehow I'm getting that out in whether I'm writing a novel, my memoirs, or this latest anthology. So, and I suspect all my other books, which will be historical family sagas, will probably all be quite similar, a similar theme. You know, it doesn't matter how we start, it's what you do with your life that counts.
That's good. So now specifically with your chapter in the anthology, I know that you said that you talk about some of the difficulties that you've had. Are we starting from your childhood and going into your adulthood?
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about that?
I can, although I'd much rather everyone read the book.
We are. Don't tell us too much, but just give us like a little push to want to read it.
Okay. Well, basically, I started in a very ordinary, poor state house. I don't know what you call them in the States, like a council house, a government house, and just a poor family. And then I ended up living on the other side of the world in the Fiji Islands, where obviously, and I was young, I was in my 20s. Obviously, that was my first experience of living with people who looked different to me, but were exactly the same. And so that set the pattern for my whole life, really. So then eventually I got a chance to emigrate here. And I've had my ups and downs, divorces, deaths, blah, blah, you know, all the usual stuff.
I understand. Now, why did you actually want to be a part of that anthology? You know, because I know that, you know, when you were telling us about it, you like, well, I'm just this white woman and, you know, I'm kind of boring. Pat, you got to sell me on this. You know, why would I want to read? Why would I want to read your chapter specifically?
Okay, actually, I'm just too modest. I'm not really boring at all. I've had a fabulous life. I actually
give it to us.
I have had a fabulous life. I'm too English. I'm too repressed. I don't push myself out there. So when I mix with my other co-authors, who are all fabulous, vibrant, wonderful women, I become a fabulous, vibrant, wonderful woman instead of this little silly white girl. I've had a terrific life, and just a fabulous life, very interesting, lots and lots of ups and downs. And suffice to say that at 70, I'm on my own, and finally, at last, not by choice, but having a ball, just living my life for me, which is great.
And I think it's really good that you all include your pictures, you know, in the book, because sometimes, you know, we do see the author's, you know, picture on the back and things like that. But with that anthology, we're able to see everybody's picture and then relate to you all just a little bit more in that as well. So I appreciate you for, you know, giving us a taste of your life, you know, in the book, especially, you know, if you're so different from the other co-authors of the book as well. So now what about you, Pam, with genre of books? I know this not your first book, because you was in the anthology, right?
Right. This is my second anthology.
Okay, so tell us about this latest anthology, and are both of the anthologies pretty much in the same genre?
So I'll answer the last question first. Yes, they are in the same genre, more Christian and nonfiction.
Okay.
I wrote about me. I wrote about my life. The first one is called Back in the Day, and I got that through the Christian Book Lovers Retreat. And it was the synopsis had to be a story of deliverance.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been fiction or nonfiction, but I felt like I couldn't quote make up a story. I had
Yeah.
to write about myself, and it was very much therapeutic, and it gave me a chance to be healed from some things and to just remove the veil from some things that I thought I had healed from, and I actually had not. And therein comes the current one that is called The Day She Left, A
Mm-hmm.
Survivor's Diary. And the name of my chapter there is called Free Indeed, and I
Mm-hmm.
use John 8:36 as the scripture reference, not just in a biblical sense, but also in a psychological, physical, just being free from the things that had held me for many years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I talk about some events and some things that were adversity that I overcame over the years of my mom passed when I was 16,
Mm-hmm.
and I have my dad is just great. He's 82, lives about 10 or 15 minutes from me,
Mm-hmm.
has been a great father, but he's not a mother.
Yeah.
And I had my maternal and paternal grandmothers both passed away, in my formative years. And so just dealing with, okay, you don't have mom, but I am thankful that God put women in my life to just kind of stand in the gap for me. But I talk about life decisions, and I always didn't make the best decisions, and how I came out of that, and how I came out of a very toxic relationship, um, and marriage. I God wasn't nowhere in there. We
Mm-hmm.
stood before the preacher and all of that, and I was in the church and rededicating my life to Christ, but I didn't include him in that, and that I knew that many years later that
Yeah.
okay, this just didn't, it was not going to be good from the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how much I tried. And I don't point fingers, and I
Yeah.
don't place all the blame, but I do own my experience. I'm very much transparent, and most people read it. They are surprised. Well, the first one, they were surprised that I, disclosed so many things, but because I'm basically a private person, but I
Mm.
wanted to help somebody. I'm an encourager. So
Yeah.
I want to encourage someone else, another young lady that, okay, without your mother, you can make it. With your
Mm-hmm.
three sons in, leaving this environment, with God, you can make it.
Yeah.
That's the title of the first chapter, with God on my side, better with God.
Yeah, yeah. And I really like the title of that anthology. Whenever you put a diary, something diary in there, people
Yes.
just want to read it. I know when I was younger and I would read and I would see people's diary, I'm like, ooh, I want to read it. So shout out to that visionary author for having a good title with that.
Absolutely.
But with your chapter though, I understand that, you're talking to us about the difficult things that you've gone through. Are you actually helping us with those things if we're experiencing the same things? Or is it more so like, don't do what I did because this is how it may look in your life?
Probably a little of both. Um, if I take a look back at the first one, and they definitely flow. If someone read the first one, they would see. I have to tell some of the backstory to get
Mm-hmm.
to the next major event in this current book. But I had women who said to me, um, "This is my story too," or
Yeah.
you don't know how many people you will help by knowing that, okay, yes, you can um, be gainfully employed, you can purchase a home, you
Mm-hmm.
can uh, be active in ministry, you can move forward. You don't
Yeah.
have to be bitter, but you can be better. My thing was, I always heard people say, um, you can do bad by yourself. Well, I didn't want to do bad by
No,
myself. I
that's
was
right.
doing bad with the person. So,
Uh-huh.
yes. So I'll say both. It may just be, okay, you're reading my story, but I would hope and pray that you find some inspiration there to know that, yes, you can move forward. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have to stay stuck.
That's good. That's good. So shout out to Tony Corbin who's tuning in. Make sure you guys go ahead and share this video now so that more people will know about our authors. She says, "Hello, ladies. Today we are talking to our authors about things I wish I had known before I became an author. If you're interested in any of our authors' books, make sure you go right there to that description box, and right there next to that $sign, you will be able to click on that link and it will direct you to our authors purchasing avenues as well. So now, Terry, what about you? What genre of books do you write, and can you tell us about the latest book that you've written?
My genre is children's picture books.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and my latest book is Caleb Counts with Mom. It's a bilingual counting book
Okay.
for kids that are preschool or elementary. Um, it's geared towards helping kids learn to identify numbers in Spanish and in English. And also, I have incorporated vegetables because I am an avid gardener.
Okay.
I grow my food, so I decided to include some of the things that I grow in the book, and it also introduces kids to different vegetables,
Mm-hmm.
and they can identify the color, the shape, the size, which would benefit them in preschool.
Yeah. So now, I've never heard it called a picture book. Like, is there a difference between just a regular kids book and a picture book? Because I know they always just have pictures. So
Yeah, majority. Yeah, they do have pictures, but that attracts the kids to the book.
okay.
So it's a children's book with mainly majority pictures because it's preschoolers.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. So now, why did you decide to actually have it translated in Spanish?
I feel that kids are sponges, and it can stimulate their mind, and also they can catch on to different. They can learn a different language at a young age. So I
Mm-hmm.
felt like it'll benefit. And then living in Texas, like a lot of
That's
folks
right.
speak Spanish, so you know, so
More
that was
marketable.
yeah. So,
Yeah, yeah. So now, do you tell to us a little bit, like, are we able to see Caleb's character or his personality or anything like that?
yes, you will. He has a love for his mother, and actually, she teaches him how to count by counting vegetables. So.
Ah, there's the vegetable part. Okay, I'm thinking they just gardening and then counting and stuff like that.
And I put a little humor in there, so because I know kids love to read, books that are humorous. So
Yeah.
I was a pre-K, worked in a preschool, so I'm
Oh, okay.
familiar with some of the books that they love to read. So
Yeah,
that's
so now, are there some things that you saw missing from like just that preschool book library that you felt, geared to writing that book?
yes. It was a lack of black and brown books in the classroom, so
Hmm.
I decided to write Caleb. The first one was Jamarcus, but that was geared towards my son. But yeah, I felt like there was a need. There's a need in the schools.
And what's the importance of a child seeing somebody that looks like them in a book?
Oh, more confidence. Just they're just amazed just to see someone that looks like them. I mean, I think about when I was younger. I didn't see very many kids that looked like me, so
Hmm.
that was one of the things that inspired me to do that. Also,
Yeah,
uh,
but I do have that question of, like, how does it build confidence? Because I create flashcards and it's representative of right now Black professionals, so that kids and youth can see themselves through these professionals. But like, how does it actually build that confidence in them with your book in particular?
Oh, just seeing the child and the relationship they have with the mother, but also knowing that the author is African American. So, when you see the bio in the back of the book, so and as being a preschool teacher, that's one of the things I teach the kids. Recognizing the title and the author's name, and then talking about it, just
Yeah.
discussing. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I know that we might have some parents out there and they're like, why do I need a book to help my kids learn how to count? I can do this myself. Why would somebody need to purchase your book?
Oh, it's a humorous book. The kid's gonna really enjoy the story, and the child is using his imagination, and kids love to use their imagination. But when you see the characters and the illustrations, what I'm talking about when they see that. So I think they would really enjoy it, and then learning a new language also.
That's true.
So.
That's true. That's true. Now, do you put on there like how it sounds out, like the specific words in Spanish?
Yes.
Okay, that's good because I would need
Yes.
that.
Well, not really how it sounds out, but I mean, it is in Spanish, but I mean, yeah, it's not, yeah. Someone that speaks Spanish would probably be able to read it.
But you know what? When I was in elementary school, I took French. So, a lot of these kids nowadays are taking these other languages and things like that. Now, I took French all the way up into high school, and I can only still remember up until like the number 10, and oui and bonjour. So, that's as far as it go. But if you're interested in purchasing Terri's or any of the other authors' books, make sure that you go to that link in the description box right there next to the $sign. And we just give you a taste of their books. But once you click on that link, you can actually read the book summary. So now, Pat, what are some things that you wish you would have known before actually writing your book?
Okay, I think the first thing is that I shouldn't have waited so long. To wait till you're 69, almost 70 is crazy, because I've realized that people actually enjoy reading what I'm writing. So I wish I'd had the confidence to do it before. But life just throws things at you. And I was with a couple of husbands who kind of kept me down. So I didn't have the confidence to do it then. I wish someone had told me that imposter syndrome is very real. Because I'd never heard of it until I started writing my books. I'm sure all you other ladies had. But I got to the point where I'd almost finished editing it, and I thought, why have I done this? No one's going to want to read this. This is rubbish. Why am I being so arrogant as to assume that somebody in the world would want to read what I've written? And for a few weeks, I just backed off completely. And then I published my first book, the novel, and that was fine. But again, with my memoirs that I just published a month ago, 2 days before I pressed the publish button, I just nearly had a nervous breakdown. I just thought, why am I thinking that someone wants to read my life story? Little old me, what have I done that people will be interested? And I talked to a friend about it, an author friend, and she said, it's just imposter syndrome. Don't panic, it's fine. So I pressed the button and I was fine. So I think that's the biggest thing I wish, because I think a lot of people, since I've written my book, a lot of people have said to me, oh, I really wish I could write a book. You're so clever, you're so brave, blah, blah, blah. But I'm too scared and no one would want to read it. And I just say to them, please don't let that stop you, because it stopped me for years and years. And I think everybody has got certainly their own life story in them that they should get out on paper, because we're all totally unique. And once we die, so does our story. So we really should get it out in some format, I think. So that, for me, imposter syndrome is something I really wish I'd known about before. Then it wouldn't have put me off for so long.
Well, one of the things that you mentioned was that you were married, and the husbands that you were married to, weren't maybe the most encouraging to you to do these different hobbies that you may have had and things like that. How did you get yourself out of that rut to begin thinking, okay, Pat, you can do this, you can do this?
Okay, well, I kind of started writing my memoirs when I was 30, when I was going through a really hard time with my first husband. It was just therapeutic. And then I didn't do anything with it. And then I got to almost 70 and we had lockdown. I was on my own because I now I'm on my own. And I just thought, why don't I just do it? You know, why don't I just, so I wrote the book first, the novel first, and then my memoirs. But I have to say, and this is a bit of a warning for anyone writing their life story, which some of you ladies may have experienced already. After I wrote it, for the last month, I have been very over emotional. And I think it's because having written it down, it's like having 70 years worth of therapy in one hit. You know, most people, I've never had therapy in my life, but a lot of people go to therapy once a week, once a month, whereas I just did 70 years worth in one go, wrote it all down. So just be warned, if you do write your story, it's very emotional. It's just like reliving it over and over again, but worse, because you're standing there looking back at it, thinking, oh, why didn't I do that? If I'd said that, if I'd done this, you know, so it's, but yeah, no, those are my only words of wisdom, I think.
Yeah. Well, praise God for you getting out that mindset of not being able to accomplish things and push towards your goals and your aspirations and things like that. So now, what about you, Sheila? What are 1 to 2 things that you wish you would have known before writing your book?
Well, mine sound pretty much like hers. The wrestle within. You have a wrestle within that keeps you. My first book, I actually sat on that book for 5 years before I published it. It was completed. It was a completed work. It was 10 years of journaling, and God miraculously made it out of a book. And I sat on that book for 5 years because it was a wrestle within myself. Just me feeling like it wasn't good enough, and just me saying that no one want to hear about my life or what I went through or whatever. So I think that we really have to build ourselves up, and we really have to we really have to believe in ourselves before we can even expect anyone else to believe in us. And even after publishing that book, I went on and published that book. And even after publishing my first book, I was not moved to even promote the book. It was just written material. It was just written material, published material. And I still was like, I still wasn't promoting it. And so God really dealt with my heart and my mind about it. And it took God dealing with me on a serious level in order for me to start promoting my first book.
But with that though, what does actually sitting on something for that many years look like? Is it more so, okay, you put it to the side and then like maybe every couple months, every year, God just say, Sheila, what about that book you done wrote? What does that look like?
What it looked like is buried and is hidden. That's what it looked like. You don't even think about it. You don't even allow your minds to think about the fact that you got a book that needs to be published. You got a completed book. You don't even think about it. You do it and you push it to the side and you just move on. And you don't even open yourself to even allow God to push you into that place, because that is a very scary place. That's a scary place for you. And so you don't even open yourself up to allow God to minister to your heart concerning
That
it.
that's such a genuine and transparent response, because I know that when God tells me to do something, I'll be like, you know what, God, let me go ahead and turn on this TV really loud so I can drown you out. Because I'm not trying to do that right now.
Right.
God doesn't force us to do anything, but He will remind you.
That's right. Yes.
So now, what about you, Terry? What are some things that you wish you have known before writing your book?
Well, I wish I would have known the process.
Uh-huh.
I did my own research and Google and YouTube and everything just to get some information about how to write a book and the process. And with writing the book and then making revisions, changing your story. I've changed my story many times. So that was one of the things. I didn't think I was going to change it that many times. And um, marketing. I'm an introvert, so
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that it was marketing is a full-time job.
Yeah, surely.
so so that was one of the things too, and the financial aspect of it. So I
So
wish I would
how
have
come
known
you
that.
didn't decide to go the route of using a publisher or a book coach, or did you even not know that like the book coaches were out there? What did that look like for you?
I didn't use those because I did my research. I was supposed to write a book years ago, but when I did my research at that time, it cost so much money. It was like so expensive, and I can't afford that. I can't afford to
Hmm.
purchase, invest in this. So I just waited until 2019, and I think I was ready. When I started seeing other people's self publishing, I started researching, and then that's when I discovered that, oh, I think I could do this.
So I know that you utilize YouTube and just your own research. Did you also go out and talk to authors and ask them the advice of what path to take?
Oh yes, I did. I attended. It was a book fair that I attended, and I was like, okay, let me ask the questions at each table about their
Hmm.
process. And one lady actually, she was nice enough to give me her packet of her process.
Oh
And
wow.
that was a blessing. Yeah, she gave me the process, and she said, hey, just pull it up on the internet, and I made a copy of it, and that was my first step in actually finding the from the beginning to the end, the process of self-publishing.
So now, knowing what you know, do you think that you would still go that same route again?
Yes, yes.
You feel
Yeah.
like you look. If I've survived that first one, I can do them all.
Oh
How
yeah.
you
Oh
feel?
yeah. Yes.
Okay.
It's rewarding to
Hmm.
actually just write your own book and do the process.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely. So now, what about you, Pam? What are some things that you wish you would have known before co-authoring? The books that you did.
Well, first of all, that it's more than just writing, that it's a lot of work, and the investment, much like Terry said, the investment of money, but also time, having to, I would work full time, and having to set a schedule. I'm going to write here, or this is going to be my space, dedicated schedule, and things like that. But also, along the aspect of marketing, like she said as well, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even have a headshot.
Mm.
I didn't have some of the things in place that other people probably did.
Mm-hmm.
And I got those things together, but I really didn't know that, oh, I do need these other things. But I also knew that there are resources out here, such as this platform and others. Once we, have some questions, that there really is help.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I didn't know that before, but along the way, I have really made some, I call them divine connections, because
Mm.
I really don't think that genuine connections, it's beyond networking to me. It's a relationship. And through the Christian Book Lovers Retreat, I had gone there since 2017, 18, 19, and we had virtual this past year. But I really met some authors and um, who were willing to share
Mm-hmm.
information and just pour into you. So I learned to be open to receive. I'm a giver, but I had to be open to receive. And yes, it's definitely been a journey. Um, and I am just open to, like someone said, oh, Terry said, children are a sponge. That's kind of how I feel right now. I'm
Yeah.
taking it all in.
But don't you feel that, because I know that you said that you did some research and you looked into it and things like that. Don't you feel like it was overwhelming with all of the information that you were taking in and maybe not know which step to take first and then next?
It can be. And what I did was I um definitely, and I use the word divine because I let the Lord lead me for real, because when I would hear confirmation, it isn't that if I heard two or three people and they were speaking the same language and giving me the same information, then I trust this.
Okay.
This is authentic. They're not doing or just saying something because they want to, get my money or what have
Mm-hmm.
you. People who are actually pointing me in the right direction. So overwhelming, yes, it can be a lot, but we have to use discernment, and we have to use wisdom, and be able to filter, because I can sit in on a workshop and I might not take but two nuggets out of that, and it's okay, because even in the process of the book release, my story isn't for everyone, but it is for
Right.
someone.
That's it.
And so I will get something or gain some knowledge out of every workshop or setting that I go to. I'm going to come away with something,
Yeah.
whether it was free or I paid for it. And I just filter out the rest. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, God, I
Mm-hmm.
hear this right here. This applies to me.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. So now, Terry, we have a question on the floor for you from Quintel Allen. Shout out to Quintel if anybody is interested in getting their book as an audio form. Her and her husband do audio readings. So her question to you, Terry, is: did you change your story because of what you've read, or because of what other people told you?
Well, my first story, Jamarcus, I changed it because I'm a perfectionist. I like to make sure everything's gonna flow and line up in the way I want it to line up. So I didn't change it
Mm-hmm.
because of anyone else, because it was my decision.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So now, with you, Pam, how did you handle some of the setbacks that may have caught you off guard?
Well, one of I can remember in the first anthology, I really had a point where I was just uncovering and, remembering. I think Patricia Pat talked about remembering things or having to relive things.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really wanted to quit. I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm really ready to write this.
Mm-hmm.
But the visionary author for that project actually, reached out to me and said, what can I do to support you in this process? Because I read your synopsis. I believe your story needs to be told, but what can I do to help you? And
Mm-hmm.
so that's there and where I said genuine connections or divine connections. And it was very, I really could see that here is an author. I put people not on a pedestal, but to the point where, oh, this person is really genuine and she really cares about me. So
Mm-hmm.
I took that as okay. She lit a fire and said, "Look, yes, you need to do this."
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just pushed forward after that. I took a step back, um, put it to the side for maybe a week or so, read over what I had and said, "Okay, I can do this." Um, yeah, getting over the fear of what other people would think,
Yeah.
or what other people who, if you showed up in my life in a certain way, I can't help the way that I experienced you.
Mm-hmm.
So to write it out, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I was fearful for a while of what someone else would think.
Yeah. And I really, I don't know. I just can't imagine, I think that's probably why I'm not an author, because, if I done been changed, delivered from something, then I don't know if I want people to know about that chapter in my life. And so that's why I definitely commend authors for really just having that yearning inside to help other individuals because of your testimony. So thank you guys for that. So now, Sheila, how did you handle just some of the setbacks that maybe have caught you off guard in writing your book?
Um, my wrestle have always been with people, worried about what people think, worried about what they're saying. I've been rejected a lot. And so being delivered from people and just focusing in 100% on God. And what I mean about that, a person can attack me, but I know that they can't hurt me because I'm in God. And I just believe just going in hard for God and just focusing 100% on Him is the reason that I am an author. Um, it's the reason that I have authored two books. and that I'm in the process of authoring 2 more books. And that's because my focus is on God and not on man, because man will hinder you, man will stop you. The voices of the people will shut you down when you got enough on the inside of you to change lives. And that's what it's all about. My transparency is to help others. You have to be anointed to be transparent. God have to, you have to have his divine assistance to be transparent. And that's me. That's who I am. And right now I don't care what people think. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
care.
and I think that that's great. But let me ask you this. And it sometimes it may come across as rude, but how do you even answer those people when they do come with a question about something that you have done?
What you mean?
Like
I
if
mean, I
they
don't
say
understand.
no, no, no. Like if they, because you know how you say right now your focus is doing what God wants you to do, but
Right.
still people will come to you and question why you've done the things you've done. Do you feel that those individuals always need to have an answer, or do you just be like, you know what, I did what I felt
I
God wanted me to do, and then that's it?
That's my attitude on here today. It's all about what God said.
Mm-hmm.
God told me to write, so I wrote write. I hear him, I obey him, I move according to him, and
Mm-hmm.
that's it. I don't owe no one an explanation.
Yeah.
No one.
How
No
do
one
you
in the
help?
earth realm.
How do you help people get to that point? Because we may have viewers out there that's just like, I just can't do this because of what my sister is going to say about me, what my brother is going to say about me.
I really think it's a process of growth.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a process of growth. You just don't get there. I just can't tell nobody how to get there. It's
Mm-hmm.
a process of growth. It's our maturity in God. You know, I've been saved for over 20 some years, and it took me just 2020 to get here.
Mm,
And I
okay.
got saved in 1998,
Yeah.
99.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took me, it's the process of growth. It's really learning of God, really knowing him and really having a relationship with him. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's no way I can tell you how to get here other than you got to go through the process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You got
Definitely.
to go through the process.
So now, what about you, Pat? How did you handle some of the setbacks that caught you off guard in writing your book?
Okay, well, I've always, all my life, tried to be a good girl, a people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't take criticism very well. And obviously, putting yourself out there as an author, that's exactly what you're opening yourself up for, is criticism.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the first couple, I've only had 2 bad reviews of my first book out of 49. They were both by, interestingly, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say this, but I will. They were both by white middle-aged ladies in America. And you could tell reading between the lines that the only reason they were criticizing my book was because they didn't agree with my view and the book's view that we're all equal. Um, one of them said, and I'm just reading here, she
Okay.
said that all my characters were too nice. So I'm just assuming that she didn't read the bits about rape, constant rape, racism, and homophobia. So, because in my view, those aren't nice people. But so for me, that was really hard. I probably had a couple of weeks of being very discouraged,
Mm.
thinking, actually, I've put myself out here, I've given my viewpoint, and now I'm just going to get slated. But apart from those 2 ladies, nothing else at all, which is great. Uh, Sorry, what was the rest of your
Oh,
question?
that was it. But I do have a follow-up question with that though. Why do you think that now you mentioned to us that, and of course we know that there's more because people have verbally told you how much they enjoyed your book. But out of those 49, you had 2 people that gave you a bad review. Why do you think we focus so much on these bad reviews rather than looking at all those good reviews that you've had? What do you think that is?
I think definitely it's, for me, it's an insecurity. I grew up as a poor little girl, didn't have as much as everyone else. And in my head, I'm still that poor little girl wearing secondhand clothes. Even though I'm now 70, I can afford to buy nice things and I've had a very nice life. But inside, I'm still that little girl who's waiting to be bullied in a school playground because of my secondhand clothes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's
I
it.
understand. I understand.
But I have to say, sorry to interrupt. I have
Go
to
ahead.
say that since I was 7 years old and I went to Sunday school, I have always had a deep faith in God. It's
Mm-hmm.
still, I'm 70 now, it's still the same faith with God
Mm-hmm.
up there on his cloud, but it's always got me through. You know,
Yeah, that's good.
I don't go to church anymore. I just have a one-to-one relationship, talk all
Mm-hmm.
the time, and it's got me through all the awful bits in my life.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that hasn't stopped me still feeling like this insignificant little girl in the playground.
Yeah, yeah, and that is definitely relatable. We do have those moments where we go back to, of our childhood past and things like that. But I think one of the biggest things that really just helped me as an individual, like because I do know what God says about me, then I have to constantly be reminding myself and feeding myself, about who I am, in Christ and things like that. But what about you, Terry? How did you handle some of the setbacks that caught you off guard in writing your book?
Well, I think that when you're doing anything, it's going to always be some setbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So, with me, mine was illustrations.
Mm-hmm.
During the pandemic, I had so much time on my hand. I wrote actually two books. The Caleb one, counting from 10 to 20, and I had written another one. Well, it's on this. It's going to be released in
It's coming.
June. Yeah.
Okay.
From 0 to 10. So my plan was to like get it done simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
And the person that did the one from 10 to 20, she was on track. She was meeting her deadlines. The person that was doing it from 0 to 10, they wasn't on track. I had to
Mm-hmm.
actually get rid of one of my illustrators. Then I got found another one. That one didn't work. And I was like, okay, this is not supposed to happen like this. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still following my dreams, and the Geneva one is coming out in the next month. So we can always have some kind of setbacks, but you have to keep pushing forward.
Do you ever, did you ever feel that because of everything that, like with the illustrator that you were, dealing with and things like that, did you ever feel that maybe this isn't meant for me to accomplish?
No, I just found the wrong person.
I know that's right. Yeah. You're like, next. Yeah. That's good. That's good. But let me ask you this: with dealing with the illustrator, though, what have you learned is the correct way to find an illustrator, or do you feel that it's just it's inevitable to have a bad person your first time around?
You can find a good illustrator. I mean, you just have to look at their portfolio, um, ask some questions, appropriate questions, and also have a contract. Make sure you write out your contract because that's very important. To make sure you get all of your source files, and you can use those for other marketing um, ventures. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Give us two of those questions that we should ask if we're looking for an illustrator.
My question would be, can I see your portfolio? And once I see their portfolio, then I decide if I want them and their costs, the price that they're charging. Also making sure you let them know that how many pages you need them to illustrate.
Okay.
So that's important also.
Okay. And how do you feel about getting references and things like that?
Actually, I have never gotten references. I'm just going to focus more on the illustrations
Okay.
because it's so different. There's many styles of illustrations, and you get to decide on what style you want for your book.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Yeah, definitely. And the reason why I ask, those specific questions because I know that, there's people out there that want to, write a children's book or things of that nature, but it's like we just don't know where to start. So now, Pam, do you feel that there were any downsides or sacrifices that you had to make as an author?
Hmm. Um, no, I don't think that I see any downsides. Um, because I was able to push through and finish the project, and have learned so much and still am learning along the way. So other than what you asked previously about setbacks, no, I wouldn't trade any of this for anything. I am proud of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I give God the glory because I know that ultimately that is the reason why I did this. It wasn't about me as much as it was about um, completing the assignment that I know that I was given.
Mm-hmm.
And if writing is the way or the tool for me to encourage someone, then okay, here it is. And like Pat said, we all have a story. I want to tell my own story. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to leave this side and people be just making up, what they thought and
Yeah.
all of that. When it's time for that obituary and all that business, here it is. It's right
Mm-hmm.
here. I
Mm-hmm.
don't need you to, embellish and don't make
Yeah.
me. I was never. I'm saved, but I wasn't always a saint. All
Yeah.
that I just wanted to be able to get to the point where I would be share the story
Yeah.
and help someone else as a result of it. The
That's good.
testimony is for someone else. It's not for me.
That's good. So now, Tony Corbin said, "My story isn't for everyone, but it is for someone." Quotation marks. She said, "Can she use that, Pamela? Can she use that
Sure,
quote?" Okay.
sure. Because we're not for
She'll,
everybody.
she
We
gonna
have to be
charge you
okay
later,
with the
Tony.
we have to be
Your
okay
invoice.
with the fact that we're not for everyone and everyone isn't for us.
Yeah, that's
I'm
so
I'm
true.
good with that.
Yeah, yeah. So now, what about you, Pat? Do you feel like there were any downsides or sacrifices that you had to make as an author?
No, apart from losing a bit of sleep, because I tend to keep very long hours now, because I get an inspiration and I just start writing. But that's not, I mean, I'm joking. That's not a disadvantage. No, my life has changed enormously since I became an author. I am so happy. I smile all the time. I've met some wonderful people doing this, people that I
Mm-hmm.
would, well, like you ladies, people I would never ordinarily have ever met in my whole life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's just enhanced my life hugely.
That's
And
good.
I'm just looking forward to the next at least 30 years, because I intend to live till I'm at least 100 and write until I'm at least 100.
Yeah.
And somebody said to me the other day, but supposing you lose your marbles, supposing you start writing garbage. And I said, well, it doesn't matter, because I'll still enjoy writing it. If no one wants to read it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So, so, so no, for me, I'm just thrilled, absolutely thrilled that I've been given this opportunity, and I'm just very, very grateful. I love it, and I'm delighted to have met all you lovely ladies. Last time I was on Martinique's show, I met some other lovely ladies, and one or two of them I'm still in touch with. So
Oh, that's excellent.
it's just a glorious way of getting us all together, really. So thank
That's
you.
Yeah, and I think that the encouraging thing, with your story, Pat, is regardless of what your age is, you can always start, something new, and I
that's
think that that's just encouraging in itself because I think as we get older, sometimes we may even put ourselves in a box and say, well, I'm not an author, I can't do that. When in the world did you start liking to write? But that's just encouraging that you said, I mean, I've been liking to write. I had a book on my mind and sat, but I picked it up again 40 years later. So that's great. So now what about you, Sheila? Do you feel that there were any downsides or sacrifices that you had to make as an author?
no. No, I'm a writer. I've always been a writer. All my life, even when I was in high school, I used to
Mm-hmm.
write, just write, write. So no, it's just it's a part of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So no.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what about you, Terry? Do you feel that there have been any downsides or sacrifices that you've had to make as an author?
I mean, I didn't lose some sleep, but you know what? My when I was working with preschoolers, like there was always a story that came to mind, and I'm like, I would sleep, and then I get up and think of a story. Well, I probably dream of the story, and then I
Mm-hmm.
have a little notepad and I write it down. But like it was mainly my mind was just rolling, rolling, rolling. I never thought who had thought I would be a published author. I mean,
Yeah.
like, just exciting. Just
Hmm. Hmm. And I think that would be like just as a creative myself, you be thinking, okay, Martini, you got to go to bed. Like you cannot just keep thinking of stuff and then trying to learn about it, get on the computer. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, can we please go to sleep? So Terri, what did you learn about yourself as you went through this journey of becoming a published author? What is one thing that shocked you that you learned about yourself as you became on this journey of a
That I
published author?
that I actually wrote a book and I'm on my third book.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't think I was just gonna write one book about my son and that was it. And I don't know, this ideas just started popping in my mind. So yeah,
Hmm,
I'm
hmm.
just proud of myself for that. This is a big accomplishment for me.
Yeah. Do you feel that, with that though, do you feel that you can like tackle so many more things that maybe you never thought of?
Yes, yes. I've learned so much about even making flyers. I'm gonna start doing like Zoom videos or
Hmm.
either in person with story time. I think I feel a little
Mm,
more
that's
comfort.
good.
I feel more comfortable with the kids.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what that's my plan for the summer.
That's
So
good. And I'm glad that you mentioned that. If you guys are tuning in right now, one of the things that I always encourage our viewers to do is to follow our authors on their social media. Why? Not only because they release more books and things like that, but because they work on so many other projects, you want to stay in the loop. So make sure that you follow our authors on their social media as well. So now, what about you, Pam? What did you learn about yourself through this journey of becoming a published author?
Um, I learned that if I'm open to receive, I could just take in so much more. I I look at 2020, and I'm just going to say this from the standpoint of the pandemic. So many people looked at it as negative, but I had so many positive first things that came out of that.
Mm-hmm.
I did my first photo shoot because I needed a headshot
Yeah.
and I needed to get that done. I started this Facebook Live and Zoom and all of that technology because of what was happening with writing the book. And
Mm-hmm.
had I not been writing, I never would have been even in this format or this platform
Yeah.
other than maybe at work, but to just have like Terry said, come out more.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't anybody that would be live on social media. Who want to listen to me? Or, but I
Yeah.
started reading stories. One of my friends challenged me during the Christmas holiday, and I started reading little poems and things leading up to Christmas. Do you know how many people came on and said, I missed you yesterday? Did you read a
Mm.
poem yesterday?
Yeah, that's
Or this
good.
is so nice. So,
That's
yeah.
good. That's good. And that's why I really encourage our viewers, if there's something that you want to accomplish, please do not allow obstacles to stop you from doing that. As well as, I know a lot of times our obstacle can be our own mindset, so do not let your own mindset challenge you and stop you from doing different things. So now, what about you, Pat? What did you learn about yourself as you went through this journey of becoming a published author?
Okay, I learned that I'm stronger and more resilient than I realized. Um, I mean, I always knew I could cope with things, but this whole thing has just made me realize that actually there's a lot more to me than I thought there was. An amusing little aside, like Pamela said, I needed photographs for this latest book I've done. It's actually, am I allowed to say the title? It's
Yeah.
because okay, it's called The Warrior Women Project, the Sisterhood of Immigration.
Okay.
And the other 21 ladies all said I needed some better photographs because we all sent our photographs in and the editor said no, they weren't good enough. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay. And I was all ready to pull out of the whole project because I loathe having my photograph taken. Goes back to being this self-conscious little girl.
Okay.
And they all said to me, no, you can do it. You can do it. This is all done obviously online because we've never had the chance to meet in person. And so all these stunningly attractive young Black women were saying to me, you can do it, Pat, you can do it. Just slap on some red lipstick and put on some heels. You'll be fine. So they bullied me into it, really. So I made an appointment. I went along. I had it done. oh my God, I had such fun.
That's
All these
good.
outfits and like this and this. It was wonderful. So that's something else I've learned about myself, that I can put myself out there
Yeah,
and just step out of my comfort zone, which is
that's
great.
good.
The other thing I've learned is that I love doing research. As a little
Mm.
girl, I always loved going to the library before the days of the internet. But now with the internet, research is so easy. And
Mhm.
because all my future books are going to be historical family sagas based loosely on my family, um, but obviously most of it's in my head because I don't know their stories because they're all
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
dead. But it's a way of honoring my ancestors.
That's
And
good.
so being able to just do research about the times they lived in and what they wore, and it's yeah. So for me it's been a huge, wonderful journey, and I'm just
Definitely.
delighted to be on it. Yeah.
That definitely. That's really good. And that's why I really enjoy having authors on the show, just because you all are able to talk to our viewers and let them know, regardless of what it looked like, how you felt in the beginning, after you actually have this physical product in your hand, it's all worth it. So now what about you, Sheila? What did you learn about yourself as you went through this journey of becoming a published author?
Um, I learned that I had to really believe in myself.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way I would be an author if I didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe in all the things that just the faith that I have
Yeah.
on the inside. I didn't believe in that. And if I didn't operate in that, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what I had to do, just believe in myself.
That's good. So, guys, I definitely thank you all for being on the show and really just being transparent with us and helping us have a better understanding of just who you are as an author, as well as, just talking to us about some of the things that you wish you would have known, because it really is helpful, with, just talking to us about working whatever we're dealing with inside, and also how writing can be therapeutic down to the illustrator, so regardless of anything that you may come across in any goal that you're trying to achieve, if it was easy, everybody would do it, and so and I know that sometimes it seems like we have so many authors out there, but so many people aren't great authors, and so I really enjoy having you all on the show because it really tells us a lot more about your character and about your writing, and it really just entices us to purchase your book even more. In saying purchasing the author's book, make sure that you go to that description box, because right there next to the dollar sign is actually where you can read a lot more about our authors' books as well. Make sure you also follow our authors on social media so you can always stay in the loop of when they're working on new projects, working on new books, and have their book releases and things like that. Everybody's getting vaccinated now. The world is opening up. They might be in a city near you. So you
Yes.
always want to stay in the loop of where they're going, what they're doing as well. I always tell people you don't have to wait until Christmas to give somebody a book. If you've heard any of these authors' story and you know that their story will really resonate in maybe a family member or a friend, go ahead and give them a book. Also, it's okay to give yourself a book as well. I hope that you guys have a great remainder of the night, and we will talk to you all later.